Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And I really want to thank everyone that left a lot of comments on the last video that I did with the Barry bonds. And I want to share some of those comments later on in this video. But the reason I'm going to do this video is because one of the comments talked about the 1987 Donruss Barry Bonds error card. And right now I showed this in my last video. This is my best card, in my opinion, from Bonds. And the reason I showed the early Bonds cards, because that's when I was a fan of Bonds, before he ballooned up. So anyway, I'll share some of those comments. But what I wanted to do today is I want to go ahead and check out that 87 Donruss, the opening day, and also make it kind of as a tribute to opening day, which is coming right up. So the 87 Donruss opening day set, I don't have the tin like I used to, but it came in like a it wasn't a tin, it was a plastic tray. I'll put this guy up here a little bit. It was a plastic tray, and that's what it came in. A blue plastic tray with a plastic covering, and it said Donruss, and it said opening day. And then it had these packs of cards, which is the whole set, in there. So this is, I don't have the tray because when I consolidated my stuff, it was a crappy tray. And one of the reasons also I took it out of the tray is because the tray that it was in, it was like a blue tray. It had kind of rounded corners, and the card shifted around. So as you moved it and walked with it and stuff, it shifted around. So, and it was long, big thing, way out, big like this and like this. So it was holding it together. So I took it out and I put it in a box, and I've kept it in there. And there's a valuable card in there, which is the Bonds opening day, the error card that actually shows Johnny Ray's picture in it. And it's possible it's in this set. It's in what you're seeing right there. But the possibilities are just very minimal. I don't think I've ever seen anybody pull one out of the set like this. And I've seen people try doing it. They tried for a long time, but I've never actually seen one. There's only, of the Johnny Ray card, or the Bonds card, there's only, I think, about 300, I looked it up earlier, about 300 graded by PSA, where the regular card, you have over 3,000. But that's not it. If Johnny Ray, if you have it, you're going to get it graded. If you have the regular Bonds, it's not worth that much. So this is the deal on this. These are all, the toughest ones to get in great condition are going to be the top and the bottom cards. So this Mattingly, it's to get it at Gem Mint 10, it's going to be real tough. And you see how just the corners of those are all going to be shrink wrapped. Because, this was they produced so much of this stuff, man, so much of it. And the Conseco is another tough one to find in mint condition because of all the shrink wrapping being the one on the top. And again, the card in the bottom also got, some, I don't know if you can see the corners and stuff, but some rounding. So to get a mint card of those is really, really difficult. But since they were sorted all the same way at the factory, we all know it. We know, or if you've seen it before, you know where the Bonds is and where the Johnny Ray is, and it's here in the Dale Murphy stack. So I'm not going to waste my time opening all of these guys because it's known already where it is. So goodbye Conseco and Wally Joyner. It's in the Dale Murphy stack. And the Bonds card is right in the back. It's Barry Lamar Bonds. So it's in the back. So that's card 163, but you can't see the front. So you'd have to open it. So the error could be, and I've never seen anybody do it, but this is what I heard, and I guess what supposedly it is, either the error card is here, where it's number 162. The front of this card could have the Johnny Ray picture, and then that would be the most valuable card that I would own. It would top this one. Well, if it was in a 9 or 10, yeah. And so it would top that. But the other way that it could be is in the middle of the pack. It could be the Johnny Ray card in the middle, somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle, because card number 163 is the Bonds, and card number 162 is the Johnny Ray. And there was some confusion when they made those sets, this set. So I'm just going to get to it, but I will tell you the chances of this are impossible. They say it's a 2%, very, very little, very few, almost like a Hannes Wagner type thing where, out of all the T206, there's, less than 70 known. So as far as this, there's, again, much more produced, but only about 300 PSA done. So because they cut it very, very early, they cut this very, very early in the opening, in the printing process. So the chances are going to be for this to be the big guy are very, very rare. They say less than 2%. So we're going to make an attempt here to check it out. I've had this for years. I never opened it because I've seen other people, and I've seen people buy tons of these. They were cheap, they're still cheap, maybe $20. At the time, they were like 15, I think it was $14.95 or $19.95 or something like that. So, and they're still cheap, but the chances, again, are almost impossible. I've never opened it, but I figured, you know what? In one of the comments, somebody asked me, do you have that card? And I said, no, I have it, but I have it in the set. I figured, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and take it out of the set. So it's coming out here. I try to be as careful as I can. Just screwed up a little bit there, but that's okay. In there for so long. So this is the deal, guys. Either this is the Johnny Ray card, or the Johnny Ray is in the middle of the pack. So let's take a look. I'm going right for it here. It's the regular Bonds. So we have one more chance, but got a little bit of dust on there. But being at the bottom, it's very nicely centered. That is great news for me there. Very nicely centered. A little dust on it there. But being at the bottom of the pack, or at the top of the pack, it's extremely difficult to pull a 10. But I'll be probably taking this card to Strongsville and just taking it into to SGC. And we'll check out and see how that turns out to be. So now you can see how these are kind of out of order. But I know that in the middle of this is the Johnny Ray. So we're going to try to, let's see. Okay. They are kind of stuck together, and this is the front card. So I'm just going to go right through here. I don't want to mess too much up. I'm going to look for the Johnny Ray card, which card number is 162, and it's somewhere in this pack. Okay, it should be somewhere in the middle of this. The way they're sorted, the way I've read and seen in the past. I've seen people open this stuff before. So if we can get, so that's the only two places it could be. I know I'm going through a few cards at a time here, but I don't want to. Yeah, I'm going to have to kind of, hold on 1 second, guys. They're so stuck together. Just kind of have to loosen them up. There we go. So let's see, we got the Johnny Ray error with the Barry Bonds. Man, that would be huge. But again, it's 1%. Okay, it's gonna be, I probably missed it. It's gonna be it's here, this set here. Just gonna crack this a little bit here. Because it is stuck together. So let's check it out. Should be in here somewhere. Come on. There's the pocket. Don't pull that guy out of it. What pocket tray in? Where's the Johnny Ray? Should be in there. Should be in here somewhere. The way they collated it, it's usually in there. But it looks like I didn't get it. Let me check the bags here. Just gonna go check the numbers real quick. Some of these stuck together. Yeah, if I didn't get Johnny Ray in here, then that means I didn't get the error. Yeah, here's the Johnny Ray. Johnny Cornelius Ray, and he was in there. This is Barry Bonds, but it's not. It's Johnny Ray. You can see on the back, Johnny Ray. So I did not get the error out of it. Did not get the error, unfortunately. I got the regular Johnny Ray and the regular Barry Bonds. So anyway, it is what it is. The Bonds looks good. Like I said, there was the 1% chance. This is an area that was caught very early, but the Bonds card looks really sharp. And I'll check in there, see what other Hall of Famers in there, and I'll get that Bonds graded. It's got a little bit of dust on there, but it looks good. And Johnny Ray, unfortunately, no, I did not get the. If it was the error, you would have gotten the Bonds picture and the you know the Johnny Ray picture and then the Bonds, but it wasn't the error. So anyway, guys, that's it on that. Now I wanted to share some of the comments. If you want to hang on with me, I'd appreciate that. I wanted to share some of the comments. That's a nice curvy pocket too. So appreciate you watching. I know some of the guys don't want to hang out too much, but I want to talk about Barry Bonds. Let's get Bonds back over here. Pictures. I'm going to share some comments in a second here. I just want to read some comments from the video that I thought were very insightful, very well thought out. It talks about Bonds and their opinion of whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame or not. So the first one here comes from Hodges, and Brian says, gave the video a like. Not everybody says that. I wouldn't say that. I would argue that it increased his war. Hold on one second, I got a call here. So you see here's Brian's comment here. He said, if I had to wager my entire net worth on when he began using substances, I would place it on before he ever took his first major league at bat. So he says that it's probably even before that. We'll probably never know. That is also why I wouldn't say he was a Hall of Famer before he began using. No one can possibly know for certain when he began. So that's kind of what he talks about there. He said he says he was the best steroid player of his time. His face grew bigger and prolonged. So, that's one comment. Classy Sports Card said, greatest player I ever saw during my lifetime. Never saw a player more feared when he came to the plate than him. Vintage Collector says, that's the only way to describe Bonds, the GOAT, in my opinion. Rox Cousteau likes some of the cards I showed there. Mookie Chilson says, this was the Bonds I grew up with, who drove the Mets crazy all those years. I love this display. And that's, kind of what I was trying to say. I like the early Bonds. Rip Fan 8, my friend Steven with PH, says, Barry certainly was one of the most feared hitters that has been in the game of baseball. That's Willie 2045 says, I agree that Bonds should be a Hall of Famer. I'm surprised that I didn't instantly recognize some of those early Bonds cards. Ozzy, Osvaldo Gonzalez, my buddy, said, outstanding video, my friend. I agree with you that he was the best hitter of our time. Kevin Kaufman, it said he says that talks about the cards a little bit. He says, I remember pitchers walking him almost every time at bat, even with the bases loaded on occasion. I just think it's a disservice to everyone not to have him in the Hall of Fame. My wife and I visited the Hall of Fame this year, and they do have a small section with him, but definitely not enough. So there's a few comments. I'll share a few more. Scoots said, one of my favorite players growing up and still one of my favorites, just like Pete Rose. He will get in one day, but he will not live to see it. So some great comments on here. I'm going to continue to share some of these because I think there's some good ones coming up too. But I really appreciate everybody leaving comments. Key Killer says, Bonds got my vote, Hall of Fame. JP Wisco commented on the cards there. A Math Bowler says, I'm not a big Bonds guy, but he was an exceptional hitter. And Psyched on Baseball said, great video, Orlando. It says, Bonds was a great player with or without steroids. And Andrew, ACD, 1994. The Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum. Players like Pete Rose and Barry Bonds do not have a Hall of Fame plaque, but are represented in Cooperstown with memorabilia, whether it be bats, balls, jersey, etc. So that's a good thing there. That's a great comment. Appreciate that one there because he does have a lot of things in there. Mike Junkwax Hero says, I agree about Bonds, but the Hall of Fame keeps taking actions that will likely prevent him from getting in. Vintage on Vintage, that Steve says, I agree with you on Bonds. He was a Hall of Famer before he ever took a steroid. People forget that players in the 60s and 70s took amphetamines to help them play. The steroids era happened, and you can't ignore it. Great players of that era should be in the Hall of Fame. Bonds is a great hitter and defender and stole over 500 bases. Another great, good comment here from Winston. He says that I thought he was great in the Pirate days as part of the Killer Bees. I wouldn't say the greatest, as he never won or even had that championship era. Plus, he struggled in the playoffs most of his career. So that's another comment out of there. Wesco Griff, that's Ed says Bonds is in the Hall of Fame Museum. He has several displays, and several of his artifacts are on display throughout the museum, including the asterisk ball that broke Hank Aaron's record. He just doesn't have a plaque. You know, that's a great comment, and I've got a few of those, so I have to agree, you know, have some things on display, maybe not fully give him the plaque, but you know, he just made a big difference in my opinion. I mean, you have to have something in there recognizing him. It says, greatness at his best. This is Roy DeLauder. Greatness at his best, incredible player, and one hell of a cheater. Yeah, he was the best cheater. And here's Ben, Be More Ben. He's the one that talked about the leaf, the Donruss, I'm sorry. The opening day. The opening day. That's the one I just pulled out of the pack. It's got a little bit of a, wipe it down a little bit there. Put some Kurt's Car Care juice on that thing. That's the opening day I just pulled out of the pack, as you saw earlier. The 87 Donruss also has a leaf and an opening day version. If you wanted to add them to the great collection, you have amazing pieces. My buddy Rox Cousteau says, I really don't look harshly at steroid players. All I know is that McGwire, Sosa, going after that home run record saved Major League Baseball. I got back into it. I watched every game. Bonds did the same thing. Him crushing those balls into the water. Jesus, man, I was watching every game. Baseball needs something like this again. Some dude crushing 90 home runs. Man, that's a great comment by Christian Rox Cousteau. So I don't know if anybody agrees with. We want to see 90 home runs and more those guys, but we'll see. It definitely revived baseball. Blix, my buddy, says, there it is, 87. Yeah, he's the one that told me I didn't show the Toys R Us card, so I pulled that out and I showed that on the last video. So go back and watch that last video. You can read all these comments there. You know, but he says on here, you know, they didn't test back then and it wasn't illegal. Says guys like Manny and A-Rod, after the MLB rules against him, no excuse. Steroids also saved baseball, and that's part of what he talks about too there. And yeah, I made a mistake on Babe Ruth's WAR there. Let's see, my buddy Clean Cheap Shots. Baseball is a marathon. The only way you can pile up big numbers is by playing a lot and without injuries. Only thing that steroids does is allows you to get back on the field and heal quicker. So that was really it. And I kind of wanted to make that point because of Griffey and Bonds, because Griffey didn't take it, but he had more injuries and couldn't heal up in his older years, in his 30s, versus Bonds, who got better in his 30s and really didn't see him get hurt very often. And it's you know, J. Deere in the Water had a great comment too. You still have to have skills to hit the ball. I believe he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, even with an asterisk. You still have to have skills. That's really a thing for me. You just can't be. Not everybody can take steroids and be a Bonds. Now, Tony Southern Collector, I think, had one of the better comments overall here. He said he was a great player. I just wish he hadn't cheated so that we could have a true measurement of his greatness. I personally dislike him for that so much that it makes me not care about his earlier years. He robbed a man of his integrity in the most hallowed record. Aaron came up through the Jim Crow South and rose above the hatred and received as a young player only to get hatred and death threats as an older player, and as he neared Babe's record. Bonds stripped him of that crown in a way that was so filthy that I could not even root for him to get into the Hall of Fame, even with an asterisk. The great thing about baseball is that we can kind of compare numbers of players starting in 1920, when the dead ball era ended. Bonds, McGwire, Sosa, Clemens, etc. ruined that for a 20-year span. So true, so true. It says, I can also appreciate your feelings and thoughts, though. We can agree to disagree on this and still be friends. Your collection is amazing. Well, I mean, we agree and disagree. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame just as a regular player, or maybe even with the Astros. I think what I said earlier, I'd like to see him maybe have them put in some type of steroid era room next to the hall, or maybe a small room in the hall, because those 20 years, you're right, you can't compare stats that way, just like you can't compare some stats from players from the 19th century, to the different eras either. So everything's kind of relevant in that era. But great comments, thank you so much. And Sean Jedi Master said no sir, and the others won't get in. So he agrees with Tony, yeah. And many people agreed with Tony, many people, and for the longest time I agreed with them. I just think that he should be represented somewhere. And I think Ed Westergriff said it best when he said that they already have some of his items in there, and I didn't think about that earlier when I was doing my video. But yeah, they do have a lot of his items already sitting in there representing him. Maybe they could represent some type of steroid wing, because it was different. Definitely those 20 years kind of were a different era. Again, All-America said he cheated, period. That was good enough for me. So such a waste of talent. And it was that. I think that's my number one thing, that what a waste of talent. This guy could have been, right up there with Ken Griffey Jr., or, maybe surpassed him. And who knows if he would have gotten up there with Aaron. But, you just, it's all guessing right now, unfortunately. So the last two, I think the last one is chasing majors. PEDs don't magically turn someone into a great hitter. Hand-eye coordination is natural, not enhanced by PEDs. Pitching recognition is a mental skill, not a strength-based one. Swing timing is a matter of repetition, not muscle mass. Bat speed comes from mechanics, not just strength. Hitting is about adjustment, not power. Strength helps with power, but not contact. Oh, and some anti-bonds collectors fail to correlate that pitchers from that era also use PEDs, also on PEDs too. Every batting coach I've ever worked with shared that mental toughness separates great hitters, not big muscles. So I think we'll end it at that one, and just share my bonds, Tiffany, and the bonds I just pulled out of the pack. Unfortunately, it was the Johnny Ray card too, not the bonds error. But I really appreciate all the comments, guys. Thanks for watching. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Again, if I didn't read your comments, leave me some more comments, and I'll go ahead and read them on the next time. So, from the YouTube Sports Cards Hall of Fame to the don't put them in the Hall of Fame, but maybe give them a little steroid era opinion. That's my opinion, wing. Thanks for watching. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next one.